Hi, I'm Dave from Tesco, and you're listening to the Blue Coat podcast.
I left my dad's coat at a show. The sound man found it, don't you know? It took a while for me to get it back, but we stayed in touch and made each other laugh. And then we found a date that fit to meet up. We recorded it in a hotel. That's how the Blue Coat Diaries started. Welcome back to a proper Blue Coat Diaries podcast. I hope you liked last week's. I actually listened to the bonus episode when I was travelling home from the ship, which we'll talk about in a minute, to my house. And I really liked the second date special. I thought it was a good one.
Yeah, you messaged me on the way back, sort of like this little glowing little text. It was quite, it was wholesome AF. It was
really good. I just stood on a platform eating a Cornish pasty, which is, you know, sometimes you walk past those places and you smell it and you just think, it's just got me. It's hooked me in like a cartoon. It's making me, it's like dragging me in via my nose.
Yeah. So you were in Southampton, you thought, right, if you point left really far, there's Cornwall. So, you know, just...
Anyway, I was just enjoying that along. But listen, you look tired, man. You've been festivaling,
Thanks,
haven't
dude.
you?
Yeah,
I'm
thanks,
just going to be honest. I mean, I do as well. I'm tired as well. But how was it?
Wet.
Yeah. Makes a big difference, doesn't it, when you go to a festival and it rains?
Wet. Yeah. I don't know.
Remind us where you were.
I was in Sheffield, and I don't know if anyone's seen any of the pictures or attended the State of the Tramlines site. The Hillsborough one is just mud bath, pure mud bath. Is it
called Tramlines Festival?
Tramlines Festival, yeah, that's the sort of inner city festival they do.
I know
Sheffield,
a band that was there.
There were many. It's quite a big thing. But the event that I do is a lovely... they have like a fringe to it where there's bars and clubs all over the city that do stuff as well.
Okay.
That's kind of how it started, as a multi-venue thing. But the one that I do is like... it was originally down on the canal, and it's run by a chap called Richard, who owns a pub called the Dorothy Pax. And... it used to be down by the canal. They weren't allowed to do it there anymore, so it moved out to Healy's People's Park, which is a beautiful park that's owned by a community trust, not the council. We did it there. So we had a bit of a better time with the ground, but we did, in the end, sadly pull it. Last two acts we had to pull because we just didn't want to wreck the park for people, really. But other than that, we made it. Yeah, we made it up to about 6 p.m. on Sunday, and then we went... Yeah, we're going to call it there. So you
finished there Sunday. Did you leave Sunday?
Brain, yes. Okay. Sunday.
When did you start there? When did you go over?
I went over early Friday morning.
So you did Friday, Saturday, Sunday at a wet festival?
Yeah. Friday wasn't too bad, and Saturday wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. People turned up, man. There were.
Yeah.
I say it's only that picture. There's a band called Henge on Friday. They're mental. They're great. And then we had a really cool headline on Saturday. Is a female fronted Devo covers band.
Oh wow!
And they're amazing.
And were you doing their sound?
Yeah, I did sound for everything apart from the Henge. For the band Henge, who was a tour engineer I knew who came in and did it.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Did you see a band there over the weekend called Circa Waves?
No. See, that would have been at the main site. But many years ago, whilst they were still on the way up, I'm talking quite a long time ago, playing the toilet circuit, they passed through venues that I did sound in quite a few times, so I think I've done sound for them a few times.
Well, I know Colin, who's their drummer, so we should get him on sometime. Actually, I'm going to make a note of that cool. now. Yeah, Colin Circa Waves, because he put a post out saying what a good time they'd have, but he also said he didn't see any trams. He wrote it like he was quite disappointed.
There are trams in Sheffield. Yeah,
not at the fest though, but you know you can't really have them going through the site, can you?
That would be a hazard, yeah. That
Definitely
would be safety. Bob would have been hot on that.
So were you, on the whole, having a good time? You come away from that happy?
That festival that I do that's run, it's called Pax in the Park now. It used to be Canal Lines, but now it's Pax in the Park, and it's wonderful. It's a free festival for everyone. So if you're in Sheffield or about Sheffield, go to that. Go and donate on the GoFundMe, because it obviously costs thousands, tens of thousands to put on. And it's a free festival for people and for the community and anyone who wants to go to it. It's just a lovely thing, and I'm well looked after. But when it was small, it used to be a bit more beery and we can sit around afterwards and have a. But now it's like, oh, this is like a proper professional festival, and I'm in charge of quite a large proportion of it. So there wasn't. You know, I saw people that I hadn't seen in months and months, and musicians and stuff coming by, and I'm like waving. I'm like, oh, I'll have a chat in a bit, and just never
You
did,
don't see
because
yeah.
it's just.
Where did you stay? Like, did you sleep in the van?
I didn't. You know what? I had a bed. I did have a bed. Yeah, and I had a bed due to the wonderful Blakey, Mr. Blakeman, who's a Sheffield local, who's a musician and an engineer, and. He's a lovely man, and he put me up. Him and his lovely partner Cotton. They put me up, and he makes phenomenal coffee.
Oh,
so I'm missing Blakey's coffee. I'm missing Blakey's coffee this morning. I really am. I fixed his coffee machine for him via a magic screwdriver thing. So we kind of had a reciprocal agreement there. I had the right screwdriver bit, and his coffee machine fixed. So he was happy. I was happy.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, don't tell Marcus, because he'll probably tip up there and try and move in.
Well, yeah, up to
Well, it sounds like an upgrade from being in a van. That's what I'm just thinking, because you're normally in the van, aren't you, at a festival, cold at night? But
either in a van or in a tent. Well, I don't own a van anymore, because I sold mine off.
Yeah.
So now often I'm finding myself, I'm in a tent, which is worse.
So you're in someone's house. What a luxury. Well, Marcus is going to be on later, so we'll find out how he's getting on. I did my first ever cruise, as you know. That's why we did the bonus episode. And I've not told you anything, have I? I've saved all of it for now.
I mean, was it just full of horny old ladies and buffet enthusiasts?
First thing I'm going to say is that I very much enjoy working for P&O Cruises, and I look forward to returning to the boat. I mean, I've just bodged that immediately because you're supposed to call it a ship. I'm looking forward to returning to the ship. Yeah. Because I'm not going to lie, I didn't know what to expect, wasn't sure about it, and I had the most amazing time. I was thinking, this bit, to make it interesting, maybe you should interview me. So come on, let's put all the skills you've learned on this podcast to the test. We've not got WD-41 booted up today, but have a go. Interview me about doing my first cruise.
Just off the... Okay, so first things first. What was the first feeling when you embarked on the ship?
Absolute pure terror.
Yeah.
Not because I was sailing off on a cruise, but because this is what happened. Picture the scene.
Right.
It's a Saturday, and you're supposed to fly to Italy to stay in a hotel. And then the next day... Because you
started there, of course. You didn't start in Southampton. You started in Italy, right? Okay.
Saturday, supposed to fly to Italy and stay in a hotel, and then the next day get picked up by a car. It will take you to the ship, and then we're going from there. Now, that changed. My agent phoned me on the Friday and said, listen, you're not going to go tomorrow now. It's all fine, but you're not going tomorrow now. I said, okay. He said, you're now going Sunday. So I was like, right. So it's kind of better because you're going to go directly to the ship now. So Sunday, you're going to fly to Italy. Then they're going to take you straight from the airport in a car to the ship. I said, okay, that does sound good. That's easier than staying in Italy for a night in a hotel. Then she said, but you are going to have to perform on that first night when you get there. So it's going to be quite a long day. And I said, that'll be all right. You know, I'm Jonny Awesome. I've done 2,000 shows. I'll be fine. So I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, got in a taxi, went to Heathrow, flew to Italy, found my car, which was actually quite interesting because I ended up going in a people carrier with 2 other acts, a girl called Kezia Gill, who is amazing.
I know her.
Oh, amazing. Well, she's going to come on the podcast next week.
You know Kezia? That's mental.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But Kezia, who weirdly, as we're in this people carrier going along, we realise we're both from Derby, which is mental. Yeah. We're in Italy and we're about to go on a cruise and we're both from Derby. But Kezia was there to perform. She's absolutely brilliant. Singer, songwriter, country star, amazing. And then a wonderful comedian called Noel Brodie, who was just so lovely and so helpful. And in the ride to the ship, they just started to give me lots of real good info and help and all that kind of thing. Anyway, we get to the ship. I reckon it's about 2:30 now. Get on board, which is really exciting. And that is when I found out that I was not playing one show that night or 2 shows that night, but I was actually playing 3 45-minute sets on the first night on the ship. So I was,
welcome to Las Vegas, Engelbert Humperdinck.
I was like, what? You know, not like I couldn't do that, but as in just, I was so shocked that was happening. And then I looked at the time and it was now about 3:00. And they said, your sound check is at 4:00. I thought, oh my days. So I literally had time to find my cabin, which was lovely. I had a cabin with a porthole, which is as romantic as it sounds. It was amazing. Shoved my stuff in, opened my case, opened my rucksack, thought, right, what do I need when I'm playing a show? Sort of grabbed everything together, had a shower, whatever. Next thing, I'm in a sound check. The theatre, you'll like this bit, 950 seats. Theatre.
Right. That's pretty bloody big.
Mate.
That's huge.
Proper, state of the art. This boat is only, I've got to stop calling it a boat. This ship is only under a year old. It's not even a year old. It's brand new.
That's so like a full-size theatre, like a normal big-ish theatre. Yeah.
Yeah. And the guys that were working there were so brilliant. They could tell I was like tired and it was my first one and all that. And they were just so helpful. And they were doing things like, they say, hey, how's this for the backdrop for the screens? What do you think of this? And then there was just this ginormous photo of me behind me. It looks so wicked. And I was like, yeah, that looks good. Let's go for that. Because I just, I was brand new. I didn't know what I was doing. And then the other thing that made me laugh was this guy put this little radio pack thing on me and then clipped this thing on me. And I assumed it was a mic. And I was kind of going, oh, I don't need that because I'm going to just use a microphone. He said, no, this is for lighting. And I was like, what? And it was like a tracker thing.
Follow spot.
Wherever I walked in that theatre, the spotlight followed me, which was just, what?
Well,
amazing.
It's a dying art. Once upon a time, it used to be the truck driver who was on his driving hours break who'd do the follow spot or whatever, or whoever. Yeah. And then they got people who were good at it. Then it got down to like nobody did it anymore. Now everyone who does follow spot is just like the nearest person with 2 arms, and everyone's terrible at it. So now we've got robots. It's the evolution.
Yeah. It was like one of WD-41's mates doing it. And I did my sound check. And then at 6:30, I was on stage. I went out and I'd say it was about, I'll be really honest, I'd say it was about, I reckon it was about half full, spread out. So that's still good, 400, 500 people kind of spread over the whole of the theatre.
That's great, mate. Yeah.
I had a really nice time. The guy that sort of introduced me was the entertainment's manager, a guy called Neil. He was really lovely to me, really helpful. Did that show. Then things got really interesting because one of the people that was working there, one of the crew said to me, get ready because the next 2 shows are full. Like there's no more tickets. Like they are completely full. And I was like, what? So on the second show, which was at 8:30, I walked out, I was introduced and walked out on stage, not a seat empty in the house. Like 900 people. I was buzzing like, what? This is just mental. So I did that show. Then I did an even later one at 10:30. And then let me tell you this, when I finished for the night and I went back to my cabin, I crawled into my bed, having travelled and done 3 45-minute shows, which were so fun. So I was really going for it as well. I wasn't holding back. I got into my bed and I found that the TV in my room had like a movie channel and it was all free. I put this cranky film on with Woody Harrelson in a new one about him being a basketball coach and coaching this Special Olympics basketball team. And let me tell you what, I was in the greatest of moods watching that film that I don't even know what level of film that is, as in I don't know what rating that was, but I would give that 5 stars because I was so happy. I was so happy to be, first one out of the way, and I just kind of got through those performances that, I lay in my bed in my cabin watching that, and that was the first day. So does that answer your question?
I mean, you went into quite a lot of detail.
Sorry,
I'd say.
I went a bit far
if anything, I mean, it covers a lot. Yeah,
well, I needed to set the scene, didn't I?
It would be fair to say that you hit the ground running then.
Hit the ground running. And then, this is funny, the next day I go into the entertainment's office and I say to them, they're all lovely in there, and I say, right, what a night, flipping heck, I'm buzzing after that. Right, what happens now? And they check the schedule and they say, right, next thing for you is your sound check on Saturday. And I kind of went, okay. And then I stopped and I went, it's Monday. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, so you're going to do anything till Saturday in terms of performing? And they went, yeah, that's right. Saturday sound check, 3 shows Saturday night where I do a different show. So I do a different 45. And I went, okay, so what do I do now? And one of the guys turned around on this like wheelie chair, turned around like this and went, you're on holiday. And that was it. I got to spend a week on this boat. Oh my God, it's the most amazing vessel. I mean, luxury.
Did you become a buffet enthusiast?
Oh, what didn't I do on that boat? I went to see the official take that musical. I ate like a king.
I went to see the official take that musical.
On the ship with people coming out of the ground, people on wires, full cast, like the standard you would watch like a show in the West End in that theatre. Honestly, no joke. Yeah. Like incredible stuff. I met the people that did the shows. They're a company called the Headliners Theatre Company, and they were unbelievable. They're all out of theatre school and they're all performing these incredible shows. And I went to see Kezia. So I went to see Kezia do her thing. She was so great, and we got on really, really well, especially because she's from Derby, and she's going to come on the podcast next week. But also Noel Brodie, who was brilliant. I got to watch him do his nights when he was doing comedy, and he's so funny and so like brilliant with an audience, and so nice to sit in as part of that audience and be on a night out kind of thing, watching him.
Yeah, it's nice.
And my routine, I'm not going to lie, my routine by the end of the week was, I can tell exactly what it was. It was have a lie-in, then I would do a bit of work, and then I would go and have some lovely food, go to the gym, go on the top deck and sunbathe and read my Kindle. I was reading Robinson Crusoe while I was away.
Because it's the free one on a Kindle and you'd forgotten to download stuff.
I had to buy it, but I just thought I really want to read something that's really sort of seafarer, kind of maritime.
Right, yeah.
And it's brilliant. I really enjoy it. I'm still reading it. And then I would go and get ready to go out, and then I'd go out and see the shows that were
wait
on
a
the
second.
ship.
So you told Kezia that you do a podcast and invited her to go on, right?
Yeah.
Does she know that I'm the co-host?
I just kept calling you Mark, but I don't know she's listened to it yet. But she did think the idea was really cool, and she said she'd listen. But I also
Did you say it's a sound engineer? Did you say it's a sound engineer that I met on a show? Yeah,
but to be fair to her, just saying Mark and a sound engineer, it doesn't make it that narrow, does it?
Dude, should I tell you the last time I saw
How do you know her?
From doing I probably first mixed her about 15 years ago. And she's popped up here and there. But the last time I mixed Kezia was we were under a Concorde in a what do you call them? A big hangar. And it was like the British Country Music Awards.
What do you mean a Concorde? A plane?
The plane, the actual plane.
Whoa.
Then we were in the hangar with the plane, and I was underneath by the wheels, and the wings went out, and then there was a stage just there. So I remember last time I saw Kezia, or maybe I've seen her once since.
In the past, I've seen 1 or 2 acts where I've said I've just thought to myself, they're going to be a star, right? I did it with Frank Turner. Like Frank Turner played me some songs really early on at a house party, and I said to him, "Did you write those songs?" He said, "Yeah." No. I just thought, "There's no way you're not going to make it." I watched Kezia on that shit do her set, and I stood back and I just went, "She's going to be massive, absolutely massive." So
she's great.
We'll get her on the pod before she's too big to get on the podcast. We'll try and get Noel on as well, because he's wonderful and also equally brilliant. So we'll try and get him to come on. But Kezia said she can do next week, so we'll sort that now. Yeah, that's a bit of a summary of the cruise. One thing don't want to forget to do is say thank you to you for doing all the sort of admin-y stuff and uploading and just handling everything while I was away. Because I was basically, once I was at sea, I didn't have any signal, did I? So I couldn't talk to you. So I just had to leave everything with you. And you want people to watch the YouTube channel as well as listen to the podcast. And also, reminder, we've got all the social medias going now for the Blue Coat Diaries. It's the BCD pod for all of those, isn't it?
Yeah, and at the BCD pod for the ones that have hats in front of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, YouTube's been a bit weird this week. We've had people watching it, and then the one we put out all scheduled because I was in a field and Jonny was on a ship. It kind of it got. The algorithm didn't sit right. So even if you just listen to this on Spotify or Audible or whatever, if you could go over to our YouTube channel and just click a like and a subscribe and touch the bell, probably could have worded that better. Just do that stuff, because we could really do with a boost in that, and it'd really help us out. So
we'd like that. Now listen, just quickly, last time we were doing a proper one of these, not the bonus, I was telling you about when I did a show and it was sold out, and I made a thing about that on Facebook saying, this gig tonight's sold out, it's going to be great and all that. And then loads of people started posting underneath it, and then I noticed that they all seemed similar. They all seemed to be people saying, I've actually got 4 tickets to this sold out show if anyone wants to buy them. And I started thinking it was a bit sus. So I was asking you on the last proper pod to look into it. Did you find anything out about that?
Well, as we were discussing, we recorded the pod, and then I edited for many hours, and then I went to a field and stayed there. But I've been thinking about it, and I did a little bit of research, and it does seem to be down to bots and web spiders looking for events that have sold out. And it's interesting that it doesn't just... when you research these articles, it's about Ed Sheeran or Lady Gaga or some massive tickets where 2 guys were actually jailed and for doing it, for ticket touting, just scamming millions off of these tours. But basically what's happening there is on a lower level, these bots are going out looking for events that are sold out, finding one that's sold out, then trying to find somebody selling tickets for it, and then they make their own advert for tickets saying, I've got 4 tickets, to see if anyone else will buy them before they buy them off the real person who actually has 4 tickets.
Okay, so it's kind of bouncing from one to the next one.
Yeah.
So you think that maybe like most of those posts, because this is what I was saying to you, is when I did the show, it was full. So it wasn't like all those 4 ticket people were telling the truth when they weren't there. So you think it's just computers basically?
Yeah. I mean, it's like a charity benefit thing as well, isn't it?
What, the one I was doing?
You did, yeah. It's like a charity.
No, not the one that was sold out, no.
Oh, no, that wasn't the football one.
No. That was a different one.
Okay.
No, this was just a show
like a regular event. Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember where I was. It seems like months ago, even though it wasn't. Anyway, so we think it's computers. It's WD41. There's a reason he's not on the show anymore.
It's probably him. Yeah. He's scraping pennies off the top of your gigs.
Because we've canned him for a bit, he's got cross. Although, I reckon we should try and... let's fire him up next week for Kezia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, can we do that? We fire him up for Kezia?
We can try and do that.
Right, we better crack on because Marcus is coming on in a minute. So can we have the correspondence jingle, and I'll tell you what we've had in.
Oh yeah, I can see that Marcus he's in the lobby. Right. Correspond jingle.
Correspond.
London, Tokyo and Penzance, we want your correspondence.
So I was telling you about when I went to Castlefield Bowl and it rained and there was a lot of mud, and I got to see some funny sights of people basically stacking it, and it was brilliant. And then we asked the listeners, we've had some good things in, what is the funniest thing you've ever seen at a gig? This is good. It's from Andy Wardle, and he said it's not quite an offstage antic, but James Dean Bradfield ran back on stage at Move in Manchester where they were headlining. The fans thought they were in for an encore. He said the Manics don't do encores. He'd come back on for his fags that he'd left on his amp.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? I've seen that one a few
It's
times.
really good.
That happens. Or I've left my phone and they go out and the crowd are like,
yeah. Do you know what? Jason Manford did a joke thing like that when he did he did do an encore, but he used to do a thing where he'd come back on and everyone would kind of light up like he'd come back on. Then he would pretend that he'd forgotten his phone. He would even say into the mic, he'd sort of say, "Forgot my phone," like that. And he'd go to leave and everyone would be like, "What?" And then he would say, "I'm only joking," and he would do his encore. So it's kind of a spin on that. But thank you for sending that in, Andy. That was really good. The other one that we had is from a great act, actually, a comedian called Stevie Gray, who also plays guitar and does great musical comedy.
Oh, yeah.
And Stevie said, genuinely last week at my gig, a gentleman came straight up to me after I'd introduced the first act and said, would it be possible for the acts to have their lips a bit above the mic because his son was at the show and he was deaf and it would be easier for him to lip read. And he said Steve Royal was already on stage and he was oblivious to this. He said he smashed it and the young deaf lad was actually really crying with laughter, so it was fine. But then he said, almost as an encore to his set, and obviously Steve doesn't know the bit about him chatting to this lad's dad, Steve did a 10-minute ventriloquist routine.
Because she did last time I did it as well.
I really like that. I'm sure everybody involved with that will find that funny. I thought it was really brilliant. Also, this is quite funny. It's kind of sad, but it made me laugh. Stuart, who's a real fan of the show, he's a top fan, Stuart Bowkett, he said, I was a kid seeing a pantomime. I was about 6. And I saw the actor playing the part of the front of the cow take the head off and chuck it on the floor. I really thought the cow had been decapitated, and it scared me until I learnt the truth.
I mean, that just appeals to my dark sense of humour, if anything. Yeah.
And also, Marcus has popped up on here saying he's got a few. One involving a toilet in Brighton, one involving the Rolling Stones. I want a Billy Bragg one. And he said, in fact, I've got hundreds. I'll save them from the pod. So I've made a note to ask him about those shortly when we get him on here. Yeah. But as always, if you want to reply to stuff on the podcast, just do it through my socials or the BCD pod socials. And talking about that, I've got a good idea for this week's question. You know, you were telling me about the Timmy Mallet sound effects
debacle.
thing.
Yeah.
Remember that?
It's great.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
One of my favourites.
So I remembered a really great story when I was away, and I thought, I've got to tell Mark this. I did a pantomime the year that I did Britain's Got Talent. I was in Jack and the Beanstalk, and I played a character, which is like the comedy role called Silly Billy. And we had a giant in that pantomime, obviously, because it's Jack and the Beanstalk. Now, the giant was an amazing costume, and it really was huge. You know, I look right, I'm 6'3", but I would look right up at it on stage. And it was done with someone kind of being inside it, and they're on stilts and all this stuff. And it just was, just imagine a big giant on stage. Now, the audio for the giant, the vocal for the giant, came from a laptop with little sound clips on that someone had to run for the giant. And
we're in similar territory, aren't we?
It always went wrong. And it just became the funniest thing when we were doing the pantomime, when we would enter that scene. I can remember a bit of music playing that was the start of that scene, and I can remember turning to other people who were in that scene with me and saying, it's time for the giant scene. And then we'd all say, where anything could happen. Because literally we had to become so good at rolling with it. And I'll give you an example. There was a time when the sound effects for the giant were being played through, and someone was doing it wrong, and they jumped ahead, and it was talking about stuff that hadn't happened in the pantomime yet. So, for example, there was a bit in the pantomime later on that involved the golden goose or the golden hen or whatever it is.
So wait, suddenly your pantomime was directed by Quentin Tarantino, and it's
basically yes. I can just remember a moment where the giant was coming out with something, and we kind of clocked that's the wrong clip. It's from further in the show and it hasn't happened yet. But to keep the show going, we were having to ad-lib our responses to the giant and also not just totally piss ourselves laughing. So I can remember a time where it was just talking about something that had not it just totally made no sense to the audience. It was like, he would say something like, you'll never get the key from me. And I was thinking, no one knows what that means because we have not done the scene yet that involves a giant key. And we'd have to go something like, well, maybe there'll be a time when we do need a key or something. It was just like always trying to bring it back to reality.
The reverse callback, eh?
The absolute best one, and someone else did the ad lib on this. A guy called Steve who played Flesh Creep. He's like the real baddie, the real boo hiss. Mm-hmm. Steve did the best ad lib on it because there was a moment where they played a sound effect that wasn't even the giant at this point. It was the sound of a chicken, which is from another bit of the show. So it's basically the sound of a chicken kind of like going and all that kind of thing, but coming out of the giant's great big mouth, like flapping away. And Steve, who played Flesh Creep, just did an ad lib about this giant having, have you had a chicken for breakfast? Or something like that, as if it was like coming from it within inside the giant. So yeah, I just wanted to tell you about it because it reminded me of that. And sometimes when you're at the mercy of someone else who's using iTunes or something and you're on stage, it's hard.
The QLab is the one you want, or there's an app that you can get that just has buttons, but for theatre productions there's a program called QLab, which is the one that you want to use for it. I would not advise iTunes when controlling a giant full of chickens or something.
And the other thing I was going to say to you was talking about playing the P&O cruise and all those shows I saw and how good it all was and stuff like that. I remembered another thing I want to tell you, which was a real great old story about my friend used to work at the Lion King in London. My mate Adam, he was an actor, and he would work front of house there while he was trying to kind of make it and be an actor. And he told me a story about complaints they used to get in the break, right? So when it went to the interval, because he was the front of house manager, people would come up to him and they would complain about things. And one night, a man came up. He said, I think he was German, and he was really angry. He was really cross, German guy. And he came up, and his complaint was that on all the bump and stuff for the Lion King, it says with the songs of Elton John, like all songs by Elton John, because he wrote all the songs for the Lion King.
Yeah.
This guy was furious because he was expecting the show to have things like Rocket Man and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road and all those kind of things.
Hold me closer, Tiny Dancer.
My friend was trying to explain where he'd gone wrong, and apparently
we can't put the lion in a rocket. What are you talking about?
During this chat, I'll never forget this. The guy said to me, he said the guy was so angry, and I was trying to explain to him, how it worked with Elton John writing the music for the show, not it being Elton John songs, whatever. In the middle of this complaint, the guy says to him, last night we went to see Mark Knopfler. He said Mark Knopfler performed Mark Knopfler songs, and then he went, that's a show. That was like his finish. What do you do with that?
Mic drop, he's out. Wow, you just got to take that one on the chin.
So this week's question for the audience is your funniest complaint stories. Best complaint you've ever heard or received, or ideally you've worked somewhere and someone has made a complaint where you've gone, that is bananas. That's what you want. Your funny complaint stories. Send them in via Jonny Awesome and also the BCD pod. And next week we will read the best ones out. Now I can hear him banging on the door. Marcus is ready, isn't he? He's waiting in the wings.
Yeah. So
shall we get him in and play his jingle, or should we play his jingle and get him in? What do you
That's
want?
what I was going to ask you. Should we do it simultaneously so he can have a vibe to it?
Well, I want him to hear the jingle because we've changed it, don't we? Haven't we? So let's get him in.
Let's get him in,
and then we'll play him his new jingle.
Okay.
Oh my God. His name is Marcus, and he's a drummer. He lives in a van, but it's not a bummer. We're gonna call him and find out where he's at. Listen.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that bit.
Is it
Marcus Carter? I daren't even say this, but where are you?
I'm in my favourite place in the whole wide world. I thought to myself, where is the best Wi-Fi in the whole of this nation? And there's only one answer. Tesco's.
Tesco's. Right, okay. Right, okay.
I mean, the soft
Tesco.
furnishings at Tesco's.
Soft furnishings. Yeah, with coffee, that's a dangerous mix, mate.
I know. I've been wandering around for ages. You guys are late. And I started
Yeah.
getting worried that security were going to sort of... I accidentally wandered into the clothes section and then quickly reversed out when I realised I had this.
Yeah.
Well, the
And
good
you're
thing
standing
is-
next to a load of ladies' underwear with a coffee and some recording equipment.
Well, I mean, that's
At
just
the moment,
first place
this
I
is
went.
working brilliantly for me. I can see Marcus nice and clear. He sounds great. Marcus, can you see anyone in the Tesco that's working there? Can you see anyone are there any sales assistants?
Actually, funnily enough, there were quite a few earlier, but now they've all disappeared.
I think we should get.
They're like,
I think we should.
I don't want to deal with this.
Let's get Marcus to ask something, an inquiry. Mark, what do we want to know? Based the fact he's in Tesco.
Tough one, isn't it? I mean, there's not much here.
Listen,
much to
we've
ask
missed the
about,
jokes about lasagna ingredients by a few years, haven't we?
Why don't you ask them if they've ever heard of the? Ask them if they have heard of the Blue Coat Diaries podcast.
Well, that's going to be a short conversation, isn't it?
Well, let's see. You never know. The
You
numbers are
never know.
going up.
Are they?
It might.
Are we in double
yeah.
figures yet? Look, this
Can you see
is annoying.
anyone?
Look at this. Look. Can you see that?
25% off.
Yeah. Like, school's only just broken up on Friday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're already flogging back to school stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, you got to get it ready, haven't you?
think of the kids' mental health. Imagine, like, the first day they come into Tesco, first day of the school holiday, and they get met with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
You just
wonder-
drag them in
Marcus-
and put them in another school uniform.
Yeah.
Marcus, while you're looking for somebody in the Tesco, I'm going to read you out the van names that we've had in for you because we've had loads,
Oh, great.
and I want you to choose one. All right, so I want you to choose one.
Okay.
So let me find the thread. There we go. Because Marcus, we've had loads. We must have had about 50. Right.
Ooh.
There's
Wow.
some good ones.
I'm glad you've
Loading
prepared.
it up. I'm just
Really?
finding them. Right.
Right.
Here we go.
This is
So-
quality stuff, this.
How about this to kick off from Jan Walsh?
Oh, it's cold
She
here.
says, "Can you hear me all right?"
Yeah, it's just colder. I wandered into the refrigerated area.
And dairy.
That's better. Pet foods. That's safe.
Jan Walsh says, "How about the van with no name?"
Well, I don't think Jan spent very long thinking about that, did she? Or he.
brutal.
All right. Well, this
Or he.
one's been quite a popular suggestion because a lot of people have liked it. How about Vanny McVanface?
Well, it's a classic, isn't it?
You like that one?
It's a classic, but it's a bit obvious.
Yeah.
What about Vincent, as in Vincent Van Gogh? That's from Emma Poulton.
Very good, Emma. Think it's been done, though.
And also, the one I've just read out that I forgot to credit was from Leroy Van Face. That was
Thank
from
you, Leroy. Don't forget that you have to beat the current name, which is Vanier West.
Okay.
Okay.
What about... Let's have a look here. Bob Rushton, who I'm pretty confident was in the New Cranes.
I've heard of Bob.
Bob says Orson. Then you'd have an Orson cart.
There's a reason why I left the New Cranes. Actually, to be fair,
That's a stretch.
it was actually Bob who came up with Vanier West.
I mean,
Oh, was it? Was it really?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
look,
that's the one to beat then. That is the one to beat.
Bob's-
Okay.
Bob's, stick with his first instincts on that one so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah, I think so.
We've also got Bessie from Paul Brierley. Bessie the van.
See, I like that. That's just a
Bessie.
no-nonsense name, isn't it?
Yeah. It
And we've
kind of
also
reminds me
got-
of bad Yorkshire puddings and sketchy roast potatoes.
Yeah, I can see that.
Paul Davies is suggesting the Mercedes because it's a Mercedes.
Okay, the Mercedes.
Yeah.
Okay. I suppose it
Marcus
works.
Mercedes.
My name is spelled
What about
with a
this
C.
one from
Yes.
Melina? Melina said, Halloumi, Catmobile, White Vast, Guy Liner, Mercy Dies, Van on the Moon, or Crash Cymbal.
Van on the Moon is great. I like that because I'm a big REM fan.
Yeah,
So,
Van
I
on
mean,
the Moon's pretty good.
Yeah, and actually, if that's the Melina I'm thinking of, then she's from Germany, and a recent concert in somewhere in deepest darkest Germany, she did my eyeliner before the gig, so that makes sense with the guy
Oh,
liner
that
thing.
sounds like it could be. Yeah.
That
It could
would be an incredible coincidence if it's not that Melina.
Fairly sure it probably is.
I think that's all the good ones. So what are you going to go for?
Oh, that's difficult. Could I think about it and come back with the big reveal next time?
No.
Oh. But I'm kind of stuck with it. Ooh, blimey, I nearly, someone from Tesco nearly knocked me over.
Well, as it's got a new Cranes connection, and it's kind of spooky that I mentioned it, and then you kind of took it back to Bob. I think maybe you should go with Bob's, but it's up to you.
Well, Bob had a few though, didn't he? What were they?
What was the one you said that was your favourite when we were starting this bit off?
Can't remember. That was ages ago.
I mean, Vanier West was the best out of them.
Oh, Vanier West.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's been the working name. But the problem is I don't like Kanye West, mostly because of his politics. So every time I say it, I kind of feel a bit ill. It's like having a van called Donald.
All right. Well, why don't we go for Van on the Moon then?
Van on the Moon, I like that. Van on the Moon's good. Yeah.
Donald's Triumph was the one that you were looking for.
There you go. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thanks. I got distracted by an air fryer.
All right, Marcus, also, while we've got you on here,
Yes.
you mentioned on Facebook that you had some good stories to do with gigs and festivals, and you mentioned Rolling Stones, I think a toilet in Brighton. Can you just give us one of those?
Yeah. Well, the toilet one in Brighton is fairly quick because I saw something that I thought was a myth. This was quite a long time ago now, probably 20 odd years ago, and there was a festival on the Downs. It only happened a couple of years and then disappeared. But I was on my way to see Teenage Fan Club, and I saw a group of people rocking a toilet, and they rocked it and rocked it and rocked it and tipped it over, and then rolled it over and ran away. And I saw the mud poo monster that appeared from it, and it was clearly his mates who had done it. And it's one of the funniest but worst things I've ever seen in my life.
That is brutal.
And I did genuinely think that was a myth, but I saw it happen. So that was pretty bad.
Oh my God. I think that's one of the running jokes on Jackass. They do stuff with those portaloos, don't they?
Yeah, actually, I wonder if it was around that time. It could well have been.
I mean, the worst thing to happen if you were in the toilet, but to watch as a spectator like you, that must have been so funny to see.
It was really funny, but it was also, I mean, you felt so sorry for the guy.
You would have felt for the person, yeah.
Man alive, it was funny.
I mean,
a ball's just appeared.
Nice balls.
2 balls have just
people
appeared.
listening to the podcast, Marcus is in Tesco and a ball has just rolled by in the aisle.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, for those in audio only, Marcus has found a pair of balls in Tesco.
Yeah, green as well.
What about the Rolling Stones thing? What happened with that? What was that?
I need to tell you both because I'll tell you about the Billy Bragg one as well. They're both heckles, and just excellent examples of heckles. And,
go on, we can't.
Brilliantly timed.
I
went to see the Rolling Stones, and I was with a few friends, including my friend Joachim, who's a lawyer. And the Rolling Stones were playing, greatest rock and roll band in the history of the world, according to many people. And there was a quiet moment in between songs. And he's Swedish, and he shouted in Swedish, "Ganska bra," which means quite good. there was about 200 people surrounded us who all burst out laughing at the same time because it was just a very funny heckle. And the other one was
I like that.
Are you aware of what happened when Bob Dylan went electric? Do you know that
people
story?
were really unhappy.
Yeah, you know that story. So anyway,
Yeah.
I went to see Billy Bragg at Tolpuddle Martyrs Festival, and he came on stage and he had his Telecaster on and he was doing his songs, and playing his angry guitar on his own. And then after about 6 or 7 songs, he took off his Telecaster and picked up an acoustic guitar and put it on. And someone in the audience shouted, "Judas!"
Oh, wow.
Oh, well done, Marcus. You know what? 10 out of 10 this week for your interaction with the post. That's really great.
I've got one similar to that, and it's a bit dark, but there was a concert where it's an evening with William Shatner, and he does sort of poetry and spoken word and talks about his life.
Wow.
And there's a very, very sad story about the passing of I believe it was his wife at the time, and it's really, really, really sad moment. And I don't know what sort of mentality it takes for the person to exist to actually deliver the heckle, but the room was quiet, pin drop, and you can imagine just a monologue being given by William Shatner and the gravitas and the quiet that brings to the room, until one guy at the back of the room after this story, and everyone's feeling really sad about it, just one guy shouted, "Khan!" at the back of the room like that, and it's on this recording. It's just unbelievable. So yeah, I wasn't there for that one, but I'm aware of it having happened.
Wow, that is a full-on. I mean, that is a gamble
very
going
full-on.
for that
Although I wonder if
Yeah.
William
That is a gamble.
Shatner's wife was killed by Khan. I mean, it's possible, isn't it?
No, I don't
have
know the
had
exact. I did look it up, but I've forgotten the exact story. But it was quite a very, very sad story, which is why it was a very, very dark heckle. But yeah,
So, Marcus, obviously
Yeah.
you're in Tesco, but where actually are you? Where is that Tesco?
I'm in a beautiful place called Shepton Mallet, which is
Shepton Mallet.
Shepton
Where's
Mallet.
that?
It's actually about 2 miles away from the Glastonbury Festival ground. So this is the
okay.
Tesco's that gets absolutely raided once
Wow.
a year. It's quite local to where I've been
listen,
recently.
Marcus, we're going to leave you in a moment, but before we go, I would love it if we could just speak to someone
Find
in
an
Tesco. Come on,
assistant.
there must be someone
Right.
there. Find someone that works there.
Okay.
Ask them. In fact, why don't you just tell them that say to them, you know what would be great? Let's do this. Let's see if we can get them to do that thing where they say, "Hi, I'm such and such, and you're listening to the Blue Coat Diaries podcast." Then we can use it for future
Do you
stuff.
think that's going to happen? I mean,
Can you try and make that happen? Come on, this is
All
like a
right, I'll
challenge
see.
Annika moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was going to go to the customer services desk, but someone's just gone up there. Oh, that's so annoying.
do you know what the problem is, Johnny? You've got the yellow jumpsuit, tracksuit top on, and Marcus needs it for his challenge Annika moment.
Do you know what? This
that's
jacket,
true.
I bought it late one night on Instagram as a bit of an impulse buy. And let me tell you, I loved the look of it, but the colour was not this yellow. And when it turned up, I was like, wow, I'm literally a yellow coat.
Yeah.
It was like more of a kind of tan kind of... I'll send you a picture of what it looked like, and then you can put that on the podcast, on the YouTube.
Yeah.
Because it is definitely brighter than the picture that sold it to me. I'm making a note, Mark.
Picture of my coat.
Picture.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Come on, Marcus, you can do this.
Can I ask you a question? Do you watch Britain's Got Talent?
No.
Do you don't recognise that guy? No, she doesn't recognise you, Johnny. Sorry. And she
Or ask her if she can do the thing.
she
She's
just ran
gone.
away. She just ran away.
She's like, fuck this, I'm out.
She didn't look very happy.
I've got a feeling that could be this week's clip to promote the podcast.
I don't think it's going to work. Everyone's very busy.
No, come on, Marcus, you can do it. Mark, help him out.
Come on, mate, you
Give
got
him some
this. You got
encouragement.
this.
We believe in you, Marcus.
Well,
you can do this. Come on, it's going to be your big finish.
I'm quite shy at the best of times, so this is.
I know exactly. So I'm going to try and get you outside your comfort zone. Look for someone who looks friendly.
Yeah, that's quite difficult when.
A friendly member of staff at Tesco, and all they've got to do is say, "Hi, I'm whoever they are. You're listening to the Blue Coat Diaries podcast."
The customer services people have to be nice, don't they? But she's very busy, which is very annoying. No.
Come on, Marcus, you can do it. Maybe go to a different department. It's good. The Wi-Fi's good, isn't it?
It is actually. I did a speed test on it, and it was like massive. Really.
I think this is a good
Tesco internet.
advert.
Massive.
Well, I did. I did also think about the product placement thing, and I think I'm winning on the product placement. I know you were doing product placement last week when I wasn't on.
Yeah, you're promoting a lot of items.
I am promoting a lot of items, so I'm winning. I don't reckon this is going to work. There's no one here.
Come on, Marcus, you can do it.
I'm
I'm not letting go of this. I'm like a dog with a bone. There must be somebody there.
There must be someone somewhere. I'm back in the cold bit again.
This is definitely an episode to watch on YouTube, I think.
The girl that I spoke to is now talking to a college over there, and she looks very disturbed.
Okay, maybe we should leave
Are you
you
about to
there.
get thrown out of Tesco's?
I'm wondering, yeah. She
Keep
did
filming
not-
and
she-
send it back in.
She did not look happy. I've got my GoPro in my pocket as well. Yeah, I don't
Nice.
think this is going to work, you know. There's no one here.
All right, well, listen, next time we have you on, we'll have another go.
I'll see. I know you didn't want me to tee up a person, but next time maybe I'll find a person beforehand. So I know
Hey,
that it's
that guy
gonna
there.
work.
That's that guy. That's that guy.
He looks very. Shall I ask him?
Yeah, go on, Mark.
Yeah,
Go on,
okay.
Marcus.
Excuse me.
Don't say anything about me.
Oh, I won't say anything about you. This is a podcast that I'm on.
Yeah.
Would you mind saying hello to me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's a guy called Jonny Awesome, and that's a guy called
Hello,
Mark
mate.
House. He's from Britain's Got Talent.
Oh, really?
You might not know him. Most people don't. What did you want him to say, Johnny?
Can he say? First of all, ask him what his name is,
Oh,
Mark.
what's your name?
Jay.
Jay.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Can he say, "Hi, I'm Jay from Tesco, and you're listening to the Blue Coat Diaries podcast"?
Can you say, "Hi, I'm Jay from Tesco, and you're listening to the Blue Coat podcast"?
Hi, I'm Jay from Tesco, and you're listening to the Blue Coat podcast.
Yay!
Hooray!
Excellent, Jay. Thank you very much. Thanks, mate. That's great. It worked. You too.
Not
We
bad,
did
but
it.
he didn't.
He was good.
He didn't get the title right. He said it's not called the Blue Coat podcast. It's called the Blue Coat Diaries podcast.
wow.
Yeah, I mean, that
Well,
was
that-
that was
I mean-
Marcus fucked that up, but well,
So
you
that
know,
was
Yeah,
my-
I know,
that
I
was
know
my
it
fault.
was.
he had a
I got-
lot on his plate.
I got nervous.
You'll have to find someone else, Marcus. Now
No,
to do it
I'm not.
properly.
That's it. I'm done. If I didn't have to pay for
done.
this coffee still, I'd be out of it.
The social anxieties. It's like reached peak. We're done now.
You know what, Marcus?
This is way
You've been
outside of my
amazing this
comfort
week.
zone.
You did
You've been
great,
amazing
man.
this week. Thank you so much for coming on. And look, we now know where we can use the Wi-Fi. We've got another studio out there, which is basically
Hey, maybe we could get
Tesco.
sponsored by Tesco.
exactly.
Their Wi-Fi
So,
is massive. I've
That would
heard.
be good. A
we're
very
going to
good
say
thing.
goodbye to you for now, Marcus. Have a great week.
Yeah, you
and
too.
Thanks so much for helping with
Take
the
it
show.
easy, buddy.
And yeah, we'll speak to you soon. All right.
Talk to you later.
In a bit, man.
Bye.
Bye, dude.
Bye.
All right,
Off he goes.
off he goes. Oh, he's gone.
Wow, that was quite high octane by the end.
It was. You know what? I found it quite difficult to orate and partake in that because I was just fascinated at what was going to happen. I was half expecting Marcus to get bundled by security guards at any moment, and that was
I was
kind of
half
drawing my
hoping.
attention away. I was kind of like, I'm supposed to be hosting a podcast here, but I'm just like, it's like watching reality TV.
That was good. I challenged him with finding some Wi-Fi, and he definitely did do that.
did
I mean,
do
he was
that.
he was,
It was massive.
wandering about, using it to the max. Now, listen, before we go, I just wanted to tell you where I'm gigging this week because sometimes
Yeah.
people can get along to them. So I'll do that quickly, and then you can tell me what you're up to as well. Tonight, after this, we're recording on a Tuesday here, so this will go out on Friday. So this will have already happened. But tonight, just to let you know, because it's kind of fun, I'm going to rugby, and I'm going to go and do a little set at a Year 6 leavers thing. You know, like when they leave primary to go to secondary
Oh,
school.
cool. Yeah.
So I'm going to go and do a kids set. But it's quite good for me because my daughter has just left her primary. So I'm sort of thinking, what would she find the least naff? And that's
Yeah.
what I'll do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, what kind of thing would she like least roll her eyes at? So that's the
Yeah.
kind of comedy I'm going to do.
Okay.
So
Yes,
that's
good
tonight.
plan.
Friday, I'll be near you, actually. Or maybe even try and hook up. Friday, I am doing a cowboy-themed corporate in Grantham.
Mate. Yeah. Listen, my advice is if anyone's got an eye patch, anything like that, don't think it's anything to do with the fucking cowboy film theme, all right?
Yeah, definitely that. If you don't know what Mark's talking about, you've got to listen to it. Was it the first episode?
Season 1.
Season 1, Willie Thorne eye patch story.
Yeah.
Saturday, I'm going to play at Pride in Hull. So it's Hull Pride on Saturday, and I'm doing a kids show there in the afternoon. If you're around, come out and check that out.
I mean, you don't have to come out, but, you know, if you're going to at any time, might as well.
If you want to come out, you can, or just attend. And then on the night of Saturday night, I'm playing Manchester Comedy Store. So that'll be exciting.
Sick. Yeah.
And then the next day, I'm going to head to Burton because I'm going to a wedding on Monday. You ever been to a wedding on a Monday?
No, but I respect that. I bet it was considerably less money than doing it on a Saturday.
Yeah, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it feels like
Yeah.
I actually messaged them and said, is it Monday? They were like, yeah, it's Monday.
Plus,
so that's what I'm going to do.
If it was me, you know, I probably wouldn't want that many people. It's going to put some people off that on Monday. Oh, they couldn't get it off. Oh, shame.
It's great for me because, you know, I don't really gig on a Monday. So that's like
Exactly.
mega. Because most people get married on a Saturday and I think, oh, there's my work day gone.
Are they entertainer or musician or comedian, the people who are getting married?
I'll tell you a bit of interesting information. The girl, who's a good friend, was a dancer.
Right.
And she now...
His name was Lola.
Works in a different field, but she still is involved with dance and things like that. Mm-hmm. She actually used to do loads of cruises and stuff, so she'll know all about the cruise world. The guy works for F1, Formula One, filming it.
Okay.
Filming the F1. You have to be quick at that.
Yeah. We both had the same idea.
But this is quite fun.
Yeah.
I hope I'm okay saying this. The guy who's getting married, his sister is Caris from Catatonia. Caris.
All right.
Matthews.
Yes.
So hopefully I'll get to chat to her possibly at the wedding because we listened to her on Radio 6.
Yeah,
and used to love
she's
Catatonia,
great.
So that could be fun. Try not to fanboy too much at that wedding.
Yeah.
And I think that's about everything. So
that's probably why they did it on a
Monday.
Monday, because they're working at weekend.
Exactly.
That's all weekend jobs, that is, mate.
We've worked it out.
There
We've
we
worked it
go.
out. Are you heading anywhere between now and the next pod? Have you got any shows?
Well, you know full well that I'm absolutely stuffed, mate. I've got in 4 and a bit hours, I'm picking my boy up, and from now until then is all the time I've got to edit the podcast and get it launched. So,
Okay.
And then I'm off to a field just up the road, Pentridge, to some lovely gentlemen from a motorcycle club run a rock and blues festival. And
What's it called?
Custom bike. It's Rock and Blues Custom Show, and they have custom bikes show up there. It's up on a hill out in Pentridge. So that's where I am. I've got some old school bands. I've got and some very good friends of mine, and the boy Aaron, who still calls me dad sometimes. I'm not real. He's one of my old students. He's the guitarist in the band with a load of all my mates, and they're sub-headlining on Saturday. These Wicked Rivers, great band. And there's a few other things. I think we've got Dare on and loads of stuff.
All right. So we're going to have tons
A Guns
to
N'
talk
Roses
about next
tribute
week.
on the Thursday, I think. But
Cool.
that's
What are they
Thursday.
called?
I think they're Guns N' Yorkshire Roses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and a Chili Peppers
That
thing
rolls
on
off the
Thursday as
tongue.
well. So Thursday, I think we've got some tribute stuff. Yeah, so that's going to be me in a field Thursday, because it starts on Thursday, finishes on Saturday, that one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to have so much to go through next week. That's wonderful. And listen, we're going to try hard to line up Kezia for next week so we can have the brilliant Kezia Gill
She's
on
going
the
to come
show.
on, look
as a
at me and go,
guest.
what are you doing here? How has this happened?
You'll go, you know what Johnny's like. He ropes you into stuff. Look at Mark if you wandering around Tesco getting thrown out.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, it's goodbye from me, Johnny Awesome.
It's goodbye from me, Mark Carver.
And we'll see you in a week. Don't forget, this week's question was funniest complaints you've ever been witness to. Get them in via the socials.
Roll in those Karen moments. Yeah.
Yeah, and let's have the lovely outro tune. I'll see you next week, my friend.
I'll see you next week, mate.
episode. Might not be funny, but we'll give it a go. So hit the button and subscribe. We're just getting started, don't be shy. We'll be back soon with more to share. Join us for the ride if you dare. That's it for now, we'll see you soon for another episode coming to you. Thanks for tuning in, we really mean that. We'll be back next week, I think that's a